going to be making homemade fondant, and there is no marshmallows in this recipe. What you're going to need is a mixer, and you're going to need your paddle on your mixer, and you're also going to need your dough hook. You're going to need a little bit of shortening just for your hands. You're going to need half a cup of the white corn syrup, 1 package of gelatin, 1 bag, either 1 kilogram or 2 pound bag of icing sugar, which you're going to sift into a bowl, and you're going to need some water. And I'll go through the directions as I do this. The first ingredient you're going to need is a clear vanilla extract. Wilton's makes one, and you need half a teaspoon of that, and you need a tablespoon of vegetable glycerin, and it must be food grade. So what you've done is you've taken a pot and put in about ½ inch to 1 inch of water. You put that on the stove, and in the meantime a 1/4 cup of cool water goes into a bowl, and this just sits out for 2 minutes so that the gelatin, the package of gelatin, you sprinkle it over top and it melts. After 2 minutes you take that gelatin and you place it over the water, which by this time should be boiling, and you let the gelatin melt. Once the gelatin has melted, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of the vegetable glycerin, and you're going to add half a teaspoon of your clear vanilla. Now you don't want to use a regular vanilla for this because vanilla is a darker color and this one tends to be clear, so it won't change. If you want a nice white fondant, it's not going to change the color of it. Okay, so you mix those together. Now in the meantime, in your mixer you've put half of the sifted icing sugar and you've formed a well. Using your paddle attachment on your mixer, just put that on and you've made a well in the middle. You sort of scooped it out. And then you're going to take this gelatin mixture, which is all dissolved now, and you're going to pour this into the center. The corn syrup goes in this soupy mixture here. And again, this is a clear corn syrup. Just goes right into the well. And just going to mix that nice and slow, not fast. And you're going to mix that until it incorporates. Okay, you're going to notice that it starts to get a bit harder on the machine, and this is where you're going to turn it off. You're going to scrape down the paddle, and you're going to put your dough hook on. You'll notice that I'm wearing white when I'm doing fondant. That's because if you're going to be using a white fondant, you don't want any little bits from what you're wearing to be on your fondant. Okay, so ½ a cup at a time. You're going to start adding some more of that sifted icing sugar. And depending upon the humidity outside, you will find that you will use more or less of the icing sugar. Now you'll notice that it'll start coming away from the walls. I think that can use a bit more. It's still pretty sticky. So I'm just going to put in another half a cup. Getting close to being done because it starts to lose its shininess. See, it's still got a bit of shininess in it. It's still a bit sticky, but I'm just going to scrape down the sides. You don't want to add too much icing sugar because you're still going to be kneading this on a counter with icing sugar on it, so you're still going to be adding some icing sugar. So yeah, I think just maybe half a cup more because it's still pretty sticky. Maybe I'll do a quarter cup. Can always add more. Okay, that is done. Okay, so you see it's lost its glossiness and it looks really nice and silky looking. Okay. Just going to scrape down the bowl and then I'm going to turn this out onto the counter. I'm going to make sure your counters are really clean. I'm going to take some icing sugar and just spread that on the counter. Take the ball of fondant out. Okay, with clean, dry hands, I'm going to take a little bit of shortening that I have put into a bowl. I'm just going to rub that on my hands. Really good idea to make sure if you've got any jewelry on, you take that off too. Okay, so you're going to start kneading this. Just like you would bread. Doesn't take a long time, and you're going to notice the consistency of this is going to get less and less shiny, very flexible, and when you pull it across, you're going to see that it doesn't rip. That's what you want. Well, it doesn't take a lot of kneading. And then if you're going to color this, I recommend using paste coloring that you can get through a baker's supply. Don't use liquid coloring that you get at the grocery store. Okay, so you see how that's nice and satiny and lovely. So how you would store this is I would put it in a bowl that has a bit of shortening buttered around the sides. It can be stored for a few days in the fridge, or you can freeze this. But it doesn't take long to make, so there you go. Done.